Your story reminded me of two people who I admire. One of them is Marine Corps Sergeant Kirstie Ennis, who on the last mission was on a helicopter. It ended up crashing and she ended up losing her leg. And she has gone on to climb the tallest peaks as a mountain climber, is a skier, does all these things. And then the other person I wanted to bring up is my friend Jen Bricker Bauer, who was born without legs, but her parents who adopted her told her that anything in her life is possible. And so she went on to become the first able-bodied high school athlete to ever win the tumbling competition, state championships in the state of Illinois. Now she's gone on to be an aerialist. She actually opened the Britney Spears World Tour a while back, but is now on the verge of having a baby if she hasn't had one already. And it just, you see these people, and I know many people who in the military who have come through lost limbs and injuries, and it's just so amazing what you put your mind to, what you can accomplish on the other side of hardship. So I do appreciate you bringing that up. I did want to go back, though, to this whole concept of risk taking, because I read that in the future, you would like to see the networks taking bigger risks on high concept shows and formats. Why do you believe that is where the next groundbreaking show will emerge?
If you look back on the history of television, so many of the big hits have come from things that have not been done before, big risks over the years. And I believe our viewers crave freshness. And so to me, shows that are derivative, shows that you've seen before, just don't cut through, and I don't think are as impactful. And so for me, I'm always reaching. There's that great word again. I'm always reaching to do things that are different. And like for us, I talked about Hell's Kitchen, and I talked about Ninja Warrior. And at the time, they were both big risks. And they're our longest running shows. There had never been a show like American Ninja Warrior before. There had never been a show like Hell's Kitchen before. Now there are, but none of them are as successful as the original. It's not just true with me, of course. This is a pattern that we see in television. This is why, whether it's Seinfeld or whether it's All in the Family and what that show represented at that time, or The Masked Singer, which is crazy, but works. All of those shows in their time are things that cut through and are things that they're pioneers. Even a show like Dancing with Stars, when it first came on, a number of years ago, people were laughing at it. I remember when the first commercials were coming out about the show, people thought it was so silly and so cheesy and so corny. I think they're in their 30th season, and Survivor, for that matter. The biggest hits and the biggest successes come from risks and taking chances. So, and sometimes, by the way, when I say that, it's not necessarily the idea that's completely different, but there's something in the producing of the idea that's different. It could be the point of view. It could be the style of the way it's shot. It could be the show itself. It could be the content itself. But there's some new offering that says, hey, we're doing it better. We're doing it different. Like I said, that's where I think the biggest hits come from. Squid Games, bizarre, wild on Netflix, nothing like it before. We love to be exposed to new things and new concepts. And I think the audience has an appetite for that.